Flight Boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon, Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now we're gonna talk about Saturn going up in Capricorn for all my motherfucking where we at? Cancer ascendants. So this is for my Cancer ascendants right now. So this is what's actually going on in your life, your areas of life, and this is the main theme. So any other planets you got, maybe squaring or opposing these angles or whatever like that, you can correlate that, but right now we're going to talk about your main theme. So once you know your main theme, then you can see that in every other aspect in your life on your own. And you know I can't leave you out without giving you the tools. So the tools how to handle this burden that's going to be brought upon you based upon Saturn. So let's talk about it. Cancer's ascendant. Now Saturn is going to be a bulldozer, and it's going to come in and knock down your 7th house. Because, yeah, for the most part, Capricorn is in your 7th house. So, you know, based upon degrees, you may have Saturn still straddling the fence along your 6th house, this, that, and the 3rd. But you have already, you know, kind of reshaped and formed this house. And, you know, you're on the aspects of cleaning up. And, you know, throwing away the trash and things of that nature. And you're getting prepared to go home, which, in so many ways, shape, and form, Saturn going home. But see, Saturn is coming in and it's working as a bulldozer, so it's going to come knock down your 7th house. So what does your 7th house consist of? Your 7th house represents your relationships and all ships. I mean all ships that you build. You know, some ships get led off a dam, some ships get led off the river, some off a cliff, some ships gotta even flow, some ships be led into the promised land. But whatever kind of relationship it is, whether it's business, friend, mate, partner, sibling, all ships, you know, all relationships falls under the 7th house. But also, not just, it doesn't just stop there, it's how you relate to people, places, and things. So how relatable are you? How you know how to relate yourself? How you relate to people, places, and things, and correlate yourself and compromise with yourself and others. That's all dealing with the 7th house. Now, that's a house, and Saturn is the bulldozer, and it's coming to knock all that motherfucking shit down. So you're going to find yourself having to reshape, reorganize, and create some new kind of foundation and structure based upon the relationships in your life and how you relate to people, places, and things. So it may play out in a bunch of turbulent ways. It may play out as in you figuring out something about the relationship you in and have to find yourself another relationship. Gain new structure in your life. It may play out in ways as in you having to reshape and form how you relate to people, places, and things in your life, and you having to take on new businesses and new compromises and things of that nature. Because what is Saturn? Saturn brings reality. Saturn constructs reality. So Saturn is how one sees reality and through their outlook. So whatever Saturn sign they have, that's how they see reality. And it's also how one gains structure in their life based upon a person, place, or thing. But it's also or a job. But it's also where one places and receives boundaries and restrictions and limits. So when you look at the 7th air house in general, Saturn is actually exalted in the 7th house. So Saturn can overexhaust itself, because you can kind of, with Saturn here, be prepared, Cancer ascendants, because you can find yourself going too far and diving too deep into, you see what I'm saying, your relationships on all sorts, and trying too hard to be relatable and relate to people, places, and things. So you can overexhaust yourself in that area of life, but this is actually heaven for Saturn, the 7th house. Because when you look at Saturn is how one sees reality and how one gains structure in their life and place and receive boundaries and restrictions and limits. That's dealing with the external world. That's dealing with heavy Libra energy. It loves that energy. You see what I'm saying? It's heaven there, because what is Libra? Initiating, creating, which is cardinal, new ways of thinking and communicating. So communicating and thinking, that's dealing with relatability, relating something to something outside of you. This is how you build relationship or build businesses or build structure based upon your relationships and how you and your ability to relate. So that's the first thing you need to see reality, because you're in reality amongst a bunch of other people. And to gain structure in your life, you need a person, place, or thing, or job to gain structure in your life. And the place and receive boundaries and restrictions and limits, it takes another. or something outside of you externally. So Saturn is in heaven here. So, you know, what comes great power comes great responsibility. Learn how to not be too power and controlling in this area. You can't be too power and controlling over the relationships that you have. Or can't be too power and controlling over how you relate to people, places, and things, because you become too demanding. But at the same time, you have to learn how to not be too passive, because you know when lines are being crossed. So that's the area of life right there that you have to understand when it comes to you know, Saturn tearing down the seventh house, but actually like doing that in that area of life. So things that you're tearing down, it may not even be perceived as negative situations in your life. As far as being a Cancer ascendant, you may be the negative attribute into other people's positivity. See what I'm saying? You might feel like, I don't want to be in this relationship no more, so I need to restructure who I'm around and who I'm with. Right? So you might think that's a good thing for you to do, but that may be very terrible for the person you was in a relationship for. So, you know, it's a lot of different dynamics going on with Saturn coming into the seventh house as you being a Cancer and ascendant. So I'm gonna show you how to handle this house. So the tools that you have access to these tools in order to hurry up and reshape and rebuild this house before you experience a lot of storms with no roof. So how you do that? You have to do that correlating it with your opposite houses and your square houses. Now here's the crafty thing about this placement, because the opposite house is actually your ascendant. You see what I'm saying? So off the back here, let's start with here. You're going to automatically experience opposition. You're going to automatically experience a tug-of-war match, but you need to make this a give and receive match. Now what is the tug-of-war match first? The first house is your personality, personal issues, and affairs. It's off the bat going to be that's off the bat going to be friction and clashing between your relationships and how you relate to people, places, and things. It's off the bat going to clash between that right now. So to make this a give and receive, other than a tug-of-war match, sometimes you may have to set aside your personal issues and your personal affairs and your personality for the sake of relating, or for the sake of your relationship in some way, shape, or form, and vice versa. Sometimes you may have to set aside your relationships and how you relate to people, places, and things for the sake of your personal issues at times, and your personality and your personal affairs. But try not to go too far on that end, because that's part of the friction in the first place. Now let's get to your squares. Your squares to the seventh house is going to be the fourth house and the 10th house. So a square represents the learning process, so that's always going to be the positive attribute. You're automatically doing these things, automatically going to help you build this building a lot faster. Now, as far as, let's start off with the fourth house. So your fourth house right here, your fourth house squaring your seventh house. What happens here is, now you're in a situation where, these is the squares, right? Because I don't want to mess up. You know what I'm saying? What's it, the fourth? Yeah, okay, yeah, the fourth and the 10th house. So now, for the most part, when you got the fourth house squaring your seventh house, now you need to learn. You're gonna have to learn, because if you're not learning, you're still gonna experience a lot of the broken down building that's going on in your seventh house. But for the most part, the broken down house. But for the most part, when Saturn worked as a bulldozer. But to help build this house faster, you need to learn how to apply something that's dealing with home, family, private, domestic issues, or wherever you gain emotional stability at. Hopefully that's the heart. But if it's your own home, relative, or family or a friend house, you know what I'm saying, then, you know, that's acceptable also. But you need to learn how to apply private, home, domestic issues, and wherever you gain emotional stability at. You need to learn how to apply that with your relationships in some type of way, or how you relate to people, places, and things, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Because you may be in a situation where you're being stubborn. You may not want to add your relationship with your private issue or something that's going on with home or family, and you may be stubborn to that fact where you never know learning how to apply these two things is actually better and help you build that seventh house a lot faster. And then when we talk about the 10th house is what you're known for, how you're seen in your status. So when you talk about the 7th house, you need to learn how to apply what you're known for, how you're seen in your status or your reputation or your career. You need to learn how to apply that to your relationships and how you relate to people, places, and things in some way, shape, or form. Because you may be dealing with a lot of situations where you got a certain sense of status or what you're known for, but you don't want to mix and mingle that to your relationships. You don't, because of their status and how they're known or things of that nature. And what you never know, blending, learning how to apply these two things could open up the benefits with these two houses and actually help you not experience all the woes and woes of the 7th house that you're going to experience by not having no roof when storms come, by this house being torn down by the bulldozer of Saturn. So learning how to apply the 4th and the 10th house, and learning how to make a give and receive match out of the first and the 7th house will help you build this building a lot faster, and you should be all right. And that's the main theme what's going on when Saturn goes into Capricorn for all Cancer ascendants. Flight bus, bitch, goddamn air. Oh shit.